Hello everybody. So I'm today I'm gonna be showing you just how I make um, these card templates that I do for fun. Um, if you haven't seen, I've uploaded a couple of card templates. This was the first one, and then I did this one. Uploaded it to the homemade TCG Reddit. Decided to actually make one, make a video of me making one, so you can kind of see the process I go through, and maybe it can help some of you out there make your own templates for your games if you're into these kind of designs perhaps. So I have a new template, a new blank template up here. This is from the Game Crafter here. The only thing I've prepared in advance are the art I'm going to use for the example card, a little symbol here that I will probably be using for rarity, and then I made a quick little like box stat holder kind of thing. This is really easy to make. I just did it so in advance, so you don't show this is a bunch of different layers, but if you want to make something similar to that, you can literally take any shape, duplicate it, move it down, for example, and then select both layers, go to layer, geometry, subtract, and then you're going to go and make this a symbol, and then you're going to duplicate that. Make sure that sync is turned on, by the way, and on that duplicate you're going to rotate it in some fashion, and then you just duplicate it however many times you want. So let's just say I duplicate it 4 more times, so 1, 2, 3, or three more times actually. We'll do 3 more times. And then you edit the base, or you go to the base shape, and you can move it around, and it's going to move all of these, and you just move them around until you get a shape that you are comfortable with. So if I do more duplicates, and like I did that 6 times, you can see almost have a shape there. It also depends on like how you rotate it, right? But you just duplicate it. You do based on your rotations, and you play around with it until you got essentially what you want. So this is that shape along with a circle. If we take away, we have this shape, which this shape is made of a copy of that, as well as just a regular circle in the background, and it creates this kind of layered look. So those are the only things that I've prepped in advance. Everything else will be sort of just off the cuff, I suppose, and we'll see how it goes. This might be a bit of a messy video. It's not really. I didn't really have a script or any particular idea. Just decided to just hit record and see what happens. The first thing that I generally like to start off with when making a card template is the border. So I'm just going to take the rectangle and make a border. You can choose whatever color you want for your border. Most commonly you're going to see black, or like a dark gray, like this, for example, or like that, or even darker, right? I just go with straight black personally. You'll also see white from time to time. White's not too uncommon either. And then I like to put it on the very top, that layer on the very top, and this is essentially your border. Now, after that, I like to lower the opacity so I can see this template again, because this blue line here is actually like the save zone. So everything within the blue dotted line here is guaranteed to not be cut off. If it's outside, there's a risk that there is going to that it might get cut off, right? Because the cutter is going to try its best to cut on this red line, but not everything's perfect. So what might happen is that it might cut over here, right? And so if you have something right here, it might get cut off. So yeah, anyway, from here, I am going to do a rounded rectangle and put the corner at, I'll say 4. And from there, I can kind of just outline where my safe zone is, because the safe zone for me when I'm making cards or a template, the safe zone is, I treat it as kind of like the actual canvas where I'm going to actually put all of like the design, and I just let everything beyond the safe zone be a border, the black border that we initially set up. So we have this. Like before, I'm going to select both layers, and I'm going to go to geometry, subtract, and bring this back up. And now we have this set up. Okay. It sure did round them corners. Probably not the biggest deal. They're gonna get cut off anyway, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. If it bothers you, it's really not that hard to cover up. But in any case, continue. So I'm gonna follow a generally standard format. The only thing I'm going to do initially is actually get the rectangle tool here. I'm actually going to, I should have done this when I was doing the setup, but it's fine. I'm just gonna put a rectangle here, and just so it's easier for me to see, I'm going to make it like this. And this I want reserved as like a little, it doesn't need to be that much, like a little space for like the set number or catalog number and the copyright information, stuff like that. This color is not necessarily final. It's just to help me see visually where I want that information. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some guides. So I'm going to go to guides, and I'm just going to set up some vertical horizontal guides that are going to show me the center. That vertical one is the most important for centering everything. And that's really it. All right, now if I need more guides later, I will set them up, but I'm not too concerned. So next thing I'm going to do is I want a border for the card, like an actual a colored border. So a lot of TCGs are going to use color for quick visual identification of cards. A quick note, not that this really has, well, it does have, something to do with design, but when you are making, do not make things color reliant on color. If there's a piece of information that can be obtained from color, make sure that there's a way to obtain it from another means. So for example, like if we go to here, this is not a good example, but this is also not the perfect example, but I can explain. So like, let's say this is the rarity, right? This is the rarity of the card, the symbol. The rarity is the same color, is the same shape for every color. So if someone is colorblind, they may have a hard time distinguishing rarity if the only way is for you to see that it's based on color. Similarly, like if the only way to distinguish that this was a blue card was through the color, it would be a little more difficult for colorblind players of your game to see that it might be a blue card potentially. So another indicator is there is the symbol for blue and symbol for blue on the card as well, right? And it's distinctly different from other colors. Ideally is how you would set it up, right? Obviously, like, this is a fake card. Like, this is not an actual, it's not a card from an actual game or anything. But something to keep in mind when you're doing things with color. That being said, not that important at the moment. It's just something that whenever you are dealing with color or information based on color, that is something that I personally like to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to create another border. And I'm going to remove the fill and have the stroke be a little bit thicker. Doesn't have to be super thick. Let's just go like 2 point thickness might be enough. Maybe, you know what, actually no, let's go like, let's double it. Let's get a little crazy. Yeah, something like this. And I'm going to do a gradient here. And let's actually make another blue card. I think that's what I have set up anyway. So let's go to a light blue, something like this. A tiny bit of noise on there, because I actually think I will do a paint over. Not that, I'm much of an artist, but in any case. And then to a darker blue. You know what, actually we're gonna go to a much lighter blue. We're gonna go almost white, I think, on this one. Yeah, kind of like that. All right, something like this. And I'm just gonna change the direction of the gradient here. To be this. I don't know why. I don't want this. I want. Okay, why? Oh, it's because I'm not clicked on there. Yeah, there we go. All right. So gradient, as I said, this is like unscripted as hell. So you're gonna have to forgive me for kind of too lazy to edit anything, so I'm gonna go to a different, like this kind of blue. Oh, that's quite nice. Yeah, all right. I do like that. I'm also gonna make sure that this has just a tiny bit of noise, just for, barely noticeable, if noticeable at all for that matter. Anyway. Alright, so we have our border. We can now adjust to our template. It's also good to hide that as well, just because, I think I want this to be an extension of this black. I think I am gonna want this to be like pure black here, and be an extension of that. Now, here, okay, so I'm gonna go here. I'm going to go to layer, and convert to curves. The reason I'm going to do this is because I want to use this node tool to edit these corners, or actually, better yet, okay, maybe I should have done a normal rectangle. This is how it goes sometimes. It's trial and error. Convert to curves. I don't want it to be too strange here. Just manually extend this. And then, honestly, this should be down here, like this. Yeah, just like that. And just keep going until we get there. Yeah, that's fine with me. And so this corner is the last one. And there we go. All right, something like that. And make sure that rectangle, yeah. I'm going to actually recolor this. I just wanted to see. I think, you know what? I'm thinking that the rarity here, we can do kind of like a Magic the Gathering style here where, you know, on rare cards, they have that little stamp that goes like here. We can actually do a similar thing where we take maybe an ellipse here, and I'm actually gonna turn on snapping because I want it to snap to the, I want it to snap to that. I can fix that later. I want it to snap to the center. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. I don't need that. What I do need is I need to snap to the center. Something like that, I think. And then all of this, layer, geometry, add, and fill this in black. Do I like that? That is the question. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't like this shape. Yeah, I think slightly more oblong, like so. Oops. There we go. Just barely poking out above that. And I think, what if I add it to here? That's not what I meant to have happen. I want, so what I'm trying to have happen is, I want the stroke of this to continue. I think, wait, where is this ellipse? Does it need to be, I think that needs to be on top, and then we need to add, I think that's what the problem is. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Alright. Please stand by as we have technical difficulties as I try to figure out how to do this. Is it another geometry? Ah. Yes and no. So here's what I'm going to do. This is pretty much actually what I want, but I'm going to just make a copy of this so that way I can do this. and then geometry, exclusive OR, and there we go. That should, is that center? I suppose so. Anyway, so now this will be where our little like rarity symbol that we choose goes. Snap to the center. All right. We can probably make this a little bigger. As you can see, I do not really, I don't really do anything in any particular order. It's just kind of how, whatever order I think of doing something is usually the order that it gets done in. So anyway, we have this. Let's go ahead and continue on to, you know what, let's do a text box. Let's do the name box. So we have a few options here. Actually, you know what, I can go ahead and get this rectangle. I think we're pretty much done with this area, so we can change these to be the continuation of the black border. Although the interesting thing with this is I believe if I wanted to do a stroke, like let me just do white just to see. Thin white stroke. I'm only doing white right now because it's easy to see. Yeah, like that. If I choose to essentially add this to and yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. Well, it doesn't really matter either way. You can add it, you can not add it. I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm not gonna get too anal about it. Let's move on. So yeah, I think let's go ahead and get a, I think what I want is I want title, cost in the top left. That's usually the best place to put your cost because it's very important information. I made a template. This template that I made, I really liked for like a creature card. Essentially, I had the attack and or like the stats, whatever you want to call it, attack, defense, over in this underneath the cost. I actually really like that because you can pretty much see all of that information when you're holding the card and they're fanned out in your hand. So I do quite like that. So I think I'm gonna go with that. But let's go ahead and make this box here. I think. Actually, you know what? First off, I'm going to do the art box actually, because I want the art box to actually not go all the way to the border. So let's say like this is the art. Center that. Can't tell. I really can't tell if there's a ruler. Okay. $11.8. Alright, let me see, sorry. So from here to here is 11.6. Okay. And from here to here is 8.7. So we need, if we, which spacing do I like more is the question. I kind of like just the tiniest bit less. So 11.6, 8.7, so we need 3, wait, no. Yeah. What is it? 6 to, wait, no, because we actually moved it already. So it's like, it's gonna be like, I'm just gonna say 623 and we'll go from there. I'm kind of getting a little too bogged down right now. Let me see how that looks. This is also another thing. There's probably a much easier way to accomplish this. Oops, wrong button. There's probably a much easier way to accomplish this. But this is just kind of how I'm doing it. So it's 8.1, 8.9, 8.8. Let's call it 8.8. So what is that? 0.7. All right, that should be good to go. All right, so there we go. Anyway, looks good to me. I think what I'm going to do is this rectangle here, I'm going to shorten to be closer to there, and I'm going to just give this a little bit more interest with these top corners being rounded. You know what, actually, what if I do just convert this to curves? Convert to curves. Why is it not letting me do that? Already, right, layer, convert to curves. Right, there. Middle point. You know what? Never mind. I'm getting too. I think I'm just doing too much, as they say. In any case, we're gonna continue. Anyway, this is our art box, which means this cost box will go in the top right. I don't know. Let's just say 200. Oh, okay, that's what I thought. 150. I think this could work. I think it needs to be a little bit smaller. I think actually what needs to happen, this needs to come down because that is a lot of area for a text box. I think I just need to give the, I just need to give this a little bit more room, essentially. Yeah, I think that could work. Another thing that I'm going to do is, so let's go ahead and add in our text box for the name. It's just going to start as a basic rectangle, and Let's see. I think that's good. These corners can actually, I'm going to layer and convert to curves, and I'm going to pull out pull this out just a little bit, and then there we go. I think that's good. Yeah, I don't think the text box needs to be too fancy. So another thing we need to do is identify what parts of the card we want colored in the color of the card. I'm going to add a stroke to this. That is the color of the card, and this does not need a fill. This does not need crazy, like one point is, I think, more than enough. And I kind of like this around here. I think works pretty well. All right. Make sure that is on top. I think this actually being on the very top is fine. I'm going to change the color of this. So I'm just literally going to go to adjustments and recolor. And do a little bit more. Close enough, I think. Okay. Same thing here. I'm actually, something I really like was this coloring, so I'm gonna do that essentially. So for this, essentially, we're going to go into our fill, we're gonna go into our gradients, we're going to insert an additional point. This point, because it's going to store text, we can kind of break the rules a little bit. And then on the outer, we're going to have this lighter blue. Actually, no, we're going to go for this blue. And then here, the midpoint is going to be pushed a little bit. A lot of it, actually, huh? Let's go 85. Same thing with this blue, same blue. And this midpoint is going to be pushed back to 100 minus 85 is 15. Something to that effect. I think that was there's actually, you know what? There is actually, I think, an argument for also doing like white on this side as well, and then having this be pushed like maybe 30, essentially doubling it, and then that way, oh, you know what, I kind of like that, but I do want these to be, I don't like pure white, or pure black. Only for specific situations do I prefer a pure white or black. So I'm going to essentially just, let's say, just do a very, very light gray. What? Is it not changing? Oh, it's not. I was like, yeah, it does not look like it's changing. Yeah, very, yeah, okay, there we go. Very light gray. Yeah, that's quite nice. Okay. I do think I want this in, like, because this is still the safe zone. So I kind of like that. And then we can push this as well. There we go. All right, that's quite nice. All right. So now we have room for the text box, which is going to have to go here. And we do not need stroke on this one. And the fill. I'm also going to, well, actually, you know, it doesn't matter where this one goes, I don't believe. I am going to put it under, actually, because I want like a subtype. How much space do we have? You know, we have enough space that I think we can push this to be up a little bit farther. You guys are gonna go under, I think. Yeah, there we go. I think that works. And then this space will be used for another box that contains like the subtype. So if I go here, like this kind of thing here. But in any case, let's get a color. Yeah, that works pretty well, huh? I don't really think I need to do any of this. I think I'm gonna brush over it though, like I am the border and this text box as well. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to copy this and bring it down here. Make it a little smaller. And also give now I'm not lining this one up, but ideally you would line this one up a bit. You would take the time to make sure that that was even. And this curve will be above this. So it's kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, it's not quite even, unfortunately. I can try and get it close, essentially. Alright, something to this effect. Or, as a matter of fact, what we could do is to do something a little bit different here. Actually, I think that's what we will do. We will do something a little bit different. Just get it close to normal as we can, back to normal. And then use the corner tool here to make this a lot easier, and do something like that maybe. Yeah, you know what, why not? And then we can make the actual point, or I don't know. I don't know if that would look good. And then here, this curve will be, I don't know if it would look good past like going off the border like that. I really don't, but I guess I'll find out. I am going to lower this though to back down to 15. And you can really start to see this start to take shape. So we're almost there with like the basic part of this. The next part I want is to essentially make an inner, like a background that will kind of house the color. This will sit behind everything. Even the artwork? No, just kidding. Why can I still see this? Anyway, I think I'm just gonna do a solid color for this. And then let's go to this art box. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to Control C and Control V this, or Control J to just copy the thing. And we're actually just going to go to fill. It doesn't really matter what it is. Oh, sorry. This rectangle needs to be below everything. Okay, so there we go. We have that. And then we select these two, and we're gonna go to Layer, Geometry, Subtract, and now we have our art box. Starting to think that this text box and whatnot is too high. Sorry, not that one. This and this? Yeah, okay. Go ahead and center it. And then that looks a lot better. Go ahead and shorten that a bit, I suppose. And there we have that. I'm going to go ahead and input the art here, which of course the art will sit beneath every other layer. resize it to fit the frame here. Okay, pretty much all that's left to do outside of the text is texturing. So there's a few ways to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just do this the easy way. Instead of trying to do it a vector style, I'm just going to go into the pixel persona. If you're using like Photoshop, or if you're using Adobe and you were doing this in Illustrator, then you would just take this over and import it into Photoshop. Something I do like about Affinity is kind of just have, you know, the 2-in-1 here. But in any case, we're gonna go ahead and add a pixel layer, and we're gonna have this be on there. We're going to get our brush and just actually make sure that this works. Okay. That's probably because, but if I choose like white, just to make sure this works, okay, we can see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to like the textures, for example, and just find a texture I like. Like that is fine. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So I'm going to use this texture. I'm going to not, again, I don't like using white, but I'm going to use like a light blue, like this, yeah, and just kind of, maybe. Okay. This opacity I'm going to lower just a bit, flow I'm going to lower just a bit, and I'm also going to paint a little bit and see if perhaps there's a different way to do this, or a good blending style that we can use. Divide does not look bad. Let me see what that looks like, because this is just all subtle, right? Yeah, divide does not look bad. You can also combine. If I had like this, for example, I think that could look pretty cool. If I make the brush like really big. No, maybe not. No, I don't think I like that actually. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this. For example, I'm gonna leave it like that, I think, and keep it at divide, you know. Just look at some of these other ones. Okay, that's not too bad. Alright, now essentially gonna do the same thing for this. Yeah. Okay. So I like this pattern. I just need a different sort of, I use the same color. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm gonna use the same color, I'm just gonna go a little bit darker. You know what, actually, sorry, a little bit darker. And let's see, because I'm also thinking about text and like what, you know, how I want the text to appear. What was that one? I can do multiply and then just lower the opacity. That's probably. Don't know if I'm happy with that, to be honest. Okay, darker color is good. Okay, so there we have that. And then next one is going to be, oh, let me go back over here. This rectangle, I think I'm going to, what if I have like, that? I'll put this rectangle above. Where is the other curve? Essentially just bring this above that. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I think I'm just gonna leave it like this and then have this be a gradient. Another curve, this be a gradient. I think I'm not going to paint over this. I am going to add a little bit extra noise to make up for the lack of texture. I'll just do this, and then here, do a little bit of this. Of course, noise. Of course, noise. Something to that effect. And I want the gradient to go in a different direction. Why does it do that? Why does it do it to me? I feel like this is not. It works when it wants to, you know? Hello? Is that what you have to do? You have to. There we go. I'm gonna do this like. Most of it be that. That's fine with me. I'm just gonna reverse this. Okay. I like that. Alright. Next is texturing the border. Which is this right here. Yeah. So I'll go back over here and then add a new layer, go here, and we'll see. Might experiment with some other things, but I mean, what the hell? Is it because I don't have anything? That's why. Again, always test. I just like to test on white personally. Oh, I see. It's gonna let me do this because that's quite unfortunate. I see. I can do it like this though, can I not? Yeah. Interesting. Before I forget about this, I want to add a stroke to this. Let me go ahead and give this yeah, I think that works really well actually. I'm gonna make it slightly bigger, make it a little more bold. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I think that works pretty well. I don't think I have to get too fancy with this one, with it being, in terms of like giving a gradient or whatever. Why does it do this? Yeah, you know what? Let's go as far as 1 point. Why not? I like, except this. That's an interesting shape. Okay, whatever. I think what I will do is I could also do this. I do a brush stroke and then just choose something that looks interesting. Kind of like this. Give it enough for it to kind of. Well, it doesn't really do much, huh? What's happening? I feel like it has to be very, like this. And then we just lower this down. The effect's not really coming through, huh? Again, this is just how I work. It's just a lot of trial and error. To be honest with you, I'm just gonna keep it straight, and then do just a tiny bit less, maybe. I do like the idea of it's extending slightly past. It brings attention to it, I think in a good way. Okay, you know what? The more I'm looking at it, the more I feel it should be a little bit less. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, and then also one on this as well. So put a 1 point stroke would look. Yeah, okay. I like that. That's good. Now let's go back to texturing. Yeah, figuring out how to do this is kind of interesting, to be honest, because, or you know, another way we can do this is we can actually, on this stroke, we can say, no, we can't do that, can we? But what I could do, I think, is duplicate this layer and then rasterize it. And then it should, I believe, yeah, go to the rasterize pixel layer. And then, yeah, there we go, okay. So now I can essentially just do something like that. Okay, it just has to be a matter of how do we want it. How do we want it textured, essentially, that's the question. I wish I had more brushes. I think as well, if I do a dark color, how's that going to come across? Okay, so we need to probably do a lighter color. Or if I do like a medium color. Yeah, that's not bad. I think, I'm trying to think how I want this. You know what, that's actually not bad by itself, if I'm being completely honest. Almost dry roll, that's what that brush is called. Okay, I'll have to keep that one in mind. Let's see, oils. Let's also look at the color burn. Looks kind of nice here, to be honest with you. I'm gonna go ahead and what does this one look like? Okay. Engraving, perhaps. I did it big though. Yeah, I don't think I like that. I do like the color burn, I think. Trying to think here. Dry medium might have some interesting ones. So I make the brush a bit bigger. I think, what was it? Where was that one? Almost dry roll. Sprays and splatters. It wasn't oils, masking markers, gouaches, I believe. Yeah, I think this one. But I'm gonna make the brush massive. And just do it like that, essentially. Yeah, I mean, that works for me. I mean, obviously you can become very, detailed with stuff like this. Like, I go essentially almost to like a white, I get a soft brush, and I can do like some, like, highlights here. I want to do more kind of shadows almost, I don't know. In any case, something like this perhaps. Okay, I think that about wraps up everything. So what I'm gonna do now is put everything that is color based into a group. So if it's based on color, then it goes into a group. The only thing I can't put into group is this right here, but that's fine. And the reason why I do that is because now this essentially is how you make different color cards. So if I go here, I go to recolor, boom, like your whole card just changes color, right? Probably for this, you probably want it a little bit less. You know, you can change everything, right? Like it doesn't matter. So if I want like a green card, I could go here. I can make like a green card like this, right? So, and then you have to change this one individually, but it's the same thing. But we're gonna make a blue card. So let's go ahead and finish this up, and let's make some text. You know what? I just realized this. Yeah. How did that happen? Didn't we have it the other way? I don't remember I don't remember seeing this happen. I don't remember seeing this happen. Which makes it a little difficult. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do instead is gonna go in here. I'm gonna do a stroke. And just wait a second. Yeah, I thought. Oh, I can't even remember now. Oh, I see the problem. Okay, I see what happened. I see what happened. So no, it's not a problem with this. It's a problem with this. This needed to be actually up a little bit farther. And it needed to be below like that. So yeah. There we go. Okay. Then make sure that this is still centered and everything. Like that. Okay, boom. And then we can add our text. So I like to use frame text. It just makes everything a lot easier. And just give this card a name. Now, you can use whatever you think looks good. I think I usually just kind of go through here and look at fonts that I have that I like and I think work. That's kind of nice. I like, that was called Javanese. I would avoid stuff like this that's too it's fine to have more relatively more artistic text for your card titles. Like in the past I was using medieval sharp, which I might honestly I might just go back to using because I think it just looks really good. But I wouldn't go too extreme on how artistic it is. Like this would definitely not, because you still want it to be readable. That one's nice. Vecna is also nice. This is probably the most I would go in terms of like artisticness. Is something like this. Do they have a bold? Perfect. All right, I'm gonna use bold. I want it to be centered. I want it to be centered vertically, and I want it to be like this. All right. Okay. For numbers, I like to use the artistic text tool. And then obviously this is gonna have to be white. Again, text is about the only thing I will use pure black or white for. Doesn't really matter what you like. Your fonts really are going to be up to you. As long as they're readable, not too artistic, then you will be fine. What does the Vecna number look like? We'll go with this. And then again, frame text for some things that are not numbers, generally frame text. So find where you want it to start, where you want it to end. Again, you can bust out the ruler to make sure that it's completely even. I'm not going to do that right now. And then you can essentially format it however you want. Just come up with some random card effect. Something like that. I think black is fine. So this is not a font that I would use personally for effect text. And then this probably needs to be quite a bit smaller. So up to you how you want to do it. I'm going to do top of line. I think that works out pretty well. Some more frame text here. And then I'm going to do this and this again. What's another word for a spell? I don't like using spell, but that's what I'm going to use. And then this can be slightly bigger. This, I think, definitely has to stay black. Again, fonts and everything, up to you. I'm just going to keep it like that. And then for this last little bit here, I'm going to take this and I'm going to just lower the opacity so I can make sure I'm staying within this safe zone essentially. So more frame text. And Windows period is going to bring up this little thing, which I like to use the dot from. And then this is usually pretty small text. And it's going to have to be changed to white. And I'm going to left justify this. And I'm going to copy and paste. And put it over here. I'm going to right justify this. And then this is where your copyright information can go, for example. So again, Windows period to bring up this menu. Copyright. Okay, I don't mind this, except for the fact that probably does need to be a bit smaller. Is 3 too small? That's the question. I do not think so. I like these to be the same. Okay, so if we go back here and we turn that opacity back up, there we go. And that is pretty much it. That's pretty much the completed design. You know, obviously get more in depth, you can get more detailed, but this is just kind of, I think I think this is just a very good like you know, general how to, or general like process that I do. Um, so yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it. You know, from here you can tweak, edit, whatever, but the only thing I would probably say is maybe if I go up, yeah, probably just increase that. But yeah, I think everything else is fine. Again, everything is easy to adjust. If you want to recolor this, let's say like your rarity is like, you know, like that, you can do that very easily. We already talked about recoloring the actual card itself. Very easy to do. Although this is not supposed to be recolored. So this can probably hang out here. So, okay, the way to fix this would be to actually select both these, layer, geometry, subtract. Oops, sorry, you want to make a copy of this first. So Control J, layer, geometry, subtract, and then you can drag this out like so. Okay, yeah, there we go. And then now you can recolor. The only thing that might get affected is if you adjust this white level, see how the gradients kind of lose a little bit. So you would have to be a little cautious of that. Like if you wanted like a dark, yeah, you would have to be a little cautious, I think, of that. You can adjust all of that manually. It's not hard, but it would be extra work to get some more specific colors. General recoloring is pretty easy, but yeah, that is essentially how I make these like card templates. At least a general overview. This one was done. I mean, this one, where are we at? We're at almost an hour and a half. So yeah, this was done relatively quicker. I think the other ones took me maybe only slightly more. I think this one took a bit longer. There's a little more detail in this one actually, with more subtle things like the symbols in the back and the drop shadows and specifically tuned shapes. You can do all that stuff, no problem. Obviously, there's more detail you do, the more time it's going to take, but this is a perfectly serviceable template, right? So anyway, that's about it. See ya.